Do you believe that some cultures are superior to other cultures? Well, welcome to Ascend the Hill with Pastor Jeremy Austill. We are back. We took last week off to do our Men's Plant the Flag podcast. So we're back this week. We're jumping in with another heavy hitting topic of what we're all navigating.
All right.
I feel like I'm trying not to laugh
Right.
right out of the gate. So, yeah, we got a good one today. I got a fun opener that has nothing to do.
I know. I think the fun. I don't know what the opener is, but you got the giggles over it.
I've got, yeah. Okay, so I came across a video, podcast style. They were like asking these things, and so I want to get more your reaction to these.
Okay. I have no clue what's
Biblical
coming.
ways to break up with someone,
Oh my gosh.
or biblical way, like a biblical way to say I want to break up. So I got just have three of them, but I just want to get you.
Okay.
All right, so the first.
Are these recommended or just things that people have done?
No, these were like, I don't know if these are done. Honestly, I would hope not.
I'll see if I've heard them.
I mean, right out of the gate.
I would say I'll see if I've done them, but I don't know that I've ever broke up with anybody. So
no, these are like scripture.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the first one is, depart from me, for I never knew you.
That's awful. I mean, the biblical "knew" implies.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking
Intimacy.
I wasn't even thinking that direction.
I'm glad y'all never knew each other. Well, I just escalated this.
Depart from me, though.
Yeah,
it's like ruthless.
It's like I'm done with you.
Yeah, just depart from me.
Be done.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't recommend that one to our young adults. No, that's not the way to go.
Oh, this one. By this time tomorrow, I will deny you 3 times.
My gosh. Basically, like, don't call me. Yeah. Don't text me. Yeah. Don't DM me.
You are cut off.
Right? 3 times on social media, I'm going to let everybody know I'm not with this person anymore. I have ended it with them.
I mean, back when I was at middle school, if the relationship thing disappeared, it was over with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. On, like, the profile, like, in a relationship. Or, I mean, the old, like, when a guy starts posting, when his profile pic becomes him and his kids.
Yeah.
And when he starts posting like pictures of him out in nature. He's got
or him in the gym.
Yeah, him in the gym. Like those are 3 denials. I'm not with you anymore.
I guess when I was a young teen, it would have been MySpace. Like, I'm denying you, like, you're out of the top friends.
Oh yeah, you're out of my top 5.
You're out of my top 5 or top 10.
Well, side note on that, on social media, the minute a married person starts posting a bunch of gym pics, I get nervous. Like I watch that, I'm like, oh, this is not
good,
not the best. Like, it's not the best idea.
Somebody's listening right now, and they just posted.
They
one
just
and
went
like,
to their social media like, let me take that down. I'm just telling you, like.
If somebody was to dig up my MySpace, which I'm sure is floating out there somewhere on the internet, I'm pretty sure Sydney's in my top friends.
All right, like wait, I want to speak. MySpace,
I don't know if you can find it or not, but
Gunner Franks. Let's see. Oh, no, there's Jake Franks. Where is
it? May not even exist anymore.
I wonder, did MySpace get like completely taken down? Let me see. I know I had one.
I don't know. I just know we were all friends with Tom.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know. There's somebody that I know on MySpace. Man, it's weird. Anyway, I don't see you. You didn't pop up.
All right, good. That's probably
an obituary for Brian. I won't say the name in case somebody knows. Just showed up. It's weird. I don't know why when I Googled MySpace Jeremy Austill. But anyway. All right, let's move on. This is a disaster.
Yeah, we're in a rabbit hole. All right, so the last one here was, dear beloved, the walls of Jericho have risen again, but this time between us.
Like, who came up with this? Who was the person? Who is the person that like did this search? Did this work?
I don't know, but it was on my algorithm. So what does that say about me?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know where this was going. I mean, I remember I had a friend in my youth group, and he always was liking somebody, usually in the church, one of the youth group girls, and they'd date for a little bit, and then he'd break up with them, And I mean, one poor girl, he broke up with her like 3 or 4 times. But it was always the Lord told me. The Lord told me.
Jesus Juke.
Basically, it's like the Lord thinks so little of you that he told me to drop you. He thinks so highly of me and so little of you that he told me to end it with you. So like, yeah, the whole like, I just think about that a lot.
I mean, we had a kid that he would see like 3 numbers in a row and he'd be like, that meant I needed to date this person. And I was like, whoa.
My God.
where he told the whole school that one time.
The superstition.
I was like, wow, that is.
Yeah.
That's like,
well, I would assume there are some scenarios where God says, hey, you need to end that relationship. But like, if that's your go-to, like I'm
you're
not
hitting everybody with it.
Yeah, I'm not feeling this anymore. I know what'll get me out of it.
Right. Maybe you shouldn't have been in it in the first place.
Probably not.
So this past weekend hunting season opened, or is it last?
A couple weekends ago, muzzleloader did. I mean, bow season's been in for a while now. So muzzleloader season started. So I've been hunting here and there. Yeah, this weekend rifle season starts. So, yeah. I mean,
which one do you prefer, rifle?
Oh, totally. Now, muzzleloader around here, the deer are more in rut during muzzleloader season. So by the time you get to rifle season, you're kind of on the back half of that like intense mating season. So during muzzleloader season, it's a little easier to kill a buck. I haven't had a lot of luck. I mean, I've seen deer. I'm also super selective. So it's once you shoot a deer, like, all right, I got to gut it. I got to drag it out of here. Like, it's just a big old process. So
right.
it's got to be worth it.
I've never been, but I've seen some of your stories that you've been out hunting.
Yeah.
So.
I just enjoy sitting out in the tree. And one of the mornings I went last Monday and it was in the 30s and the wind was ridiculous. Yeah. I was cold.
Yeah, it was when it was snowing, wasn't it?
It was like flurries or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I went a couple of days ago this Monday in the afternoon and it was 68 degrees,
Right.
So,
right. Oh yeah, we're definitely we don't know what it is each day.
I think it's 70 today.
That's incredible though. Honestly, yesterday felt amazing. But today we're going to hit kind of a big topic that we are seeing thrown around a lot.
Yep.
And so we're going to dive into the topic of Christian nationalism.
Okay.
And so we're seeing this on a lot of the things we follow, pastors engaging with it, kind of trying to define it and help their people navigate it. We're also seeing it kind of weaponized against Christians and kind of a very negative label. So just kind of want to define it, get your thoughts on it, and then maybe we can dive into like what it's not.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to just jump in on what you would define it as.
Well, I think first, the reason we're talking about it is because just truthfully, since the Charlie Kirk Memorial, I would venture to say that the use of that phrase on social media, in media outlets, in mainstream media, like the use of that phrase has escalated dramatically. Like, I haven't done the Google search, but my suspicion is if it's a graph, like a chart, that it spiked after his memorial because of the blatant communication of the gospel at a memorial for a man where there were many politicians present, especially people on the Republican right. Similarly, in our society, we've seen spikes in language use. If you go back to the Obama presidency, around that time, I mean, it is proven, it's charted that a lot of the isms, racism, sexism, bigotry, homophobia, a lot of those terms and that verbiage suddenly like skyrocketed in use in mainstream media. And so, okay, why does suddenly something that's always been a part of society like spike like crazy? And I think you have to pause and reflect on the possibility that it is now propaganda, that this is manipulation tactics, and it is aimed at societal shift. And so the phrase Christian nationalism has roots, but like you and I have talked about, it's a complicated thing to talk about because you can't really find a clear-cut definition.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that the definition is dependent upon the user and how they're using it. And so we're going to try our best to talk about it. I don't even know that we'll define that phrase clearly because, again, depending on who's using it, it has a slightly different meaning or a vastly different meaning. More so, we want to talk about how a believer should live within the context of their nation, politically, societally, civically. I do believe that the reason it is spiked is in part because of an attempt to gaslight Christians out of bold, confident civic engagement and societal engagement. It's like, oh man, that what happened with the Charlie Kirk Memorial was a real flashpoint in our society. And man, for people that are not Christians, people that were not Republican, I would imagine it was unnerving. You know, and there's people like Don Lemon, who, number one, Don Lemon is a gay man married to a man like extremely leftist in his political orientation. He was outspoken at how, quote, dangerous he perceived that memorial to be. Yeah. So, okay, when we see something that is threatening, like what is the tactic of progressivism? What is the tactic of secularism? Let's attach a label to it and try to villainize it. Let's create confusion. So I think that's what's happening now. Now believers, many are like, okay, I don't want to be out of alignment with God. I don't want to be. I don't want to diminish the effectiveness of my witness. So what do I do now? So that's kind of where we are.
Well, and I think we have to distinguish between and I've got a couple different kind of caveat things that we need, I think, distinguish between before we can really define what it is.
Yeah.
But I would just say on the front end, you know, I'm a millennial. So my generation, for the most part, has been very kind of anti-embracing anything like this, like diving into anything political.
Yeah.
I feel like my generation has led the charge on like keep politics out of church.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I mean, I'll admit I was voicing that a lot. And so, but now that I'm pastoring people, it's a little different. Like I feel differently about it because we're all navigating it. And so it's like, I feel like I'm doing, and you and I've had this conversation, like I feel like I'm doing a disservice by avoiding it.
Yes. And it's what we've talked about here at Cornerstone, information, ideas, missiology that we're learning on the fly from other people too. America has changed. Like we're in a different iteration of America now politically and societally when it comes to its posture toward Christianity. So there was a time when maybe the best approach was, hey, let's leave politics out of the conversation of the church. But I think now we're in a time where it has to be, number one, because the idol of America is politics. Like that is the dominant idol in America now. And the media is the Jezebel to our idol. You know, the media is the manipulative faction that is creating all of this adoration and loyalty, fealty to politics. Yeah. So we're looking at an idol. We've got to address it. Second, like never, at least in our lifetime, I can't speak to previous versions of America. And I think we always got to be careful. Never in American history, never in human history, we weren't alive. But in our time, I don't know that we've ever been as polarized on like the trajectory of the nation, the desired outcome of the nation when it comes to the two different the political binary. And so we've got to speak to like, where are we wanting our nation to go? And then finally, we now are in the age of just deluge of information. So the people of God are flooded with so much information, and it can be confusing, and things that a believer once just was resolute about as as like, this is like historic biblical principle and this is godly and this is right, man, you get under the flow of all the information and things that you've always known to be true that are historically true suddenly become clouded. And so in the pulpit, we've got to, I think of Paul speaking to Timothy, to fight the good fight for faith. Like he was telling him, like, you've got to contend for a pure faith. And I feel like as pastors now in America, there has to be a contending for pure faith.
Yeah, I think that's good. So here we've got just a couple things to distinguish. I can go through these. You can just throw out 1 or 2 sentences on each one. There's cultural Christianity. So Christianity as a civil religion or identity. And to me, this would be not grounded in discipleship.
You go ahead and speak to it.
No, that was what I.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you had any additional to it, or I can just keep bumping down.
If I think of something, I will. But
Then there's political nationalism with Christian language.
Okay.
So this is the one you and I talked through. This is to me like slapping the sticker of Christian onto something to get a certain outcome out of it.
Yes, and that's like that's pretty much the entirety of American politics. I mean, I think back to President Obama had to identify with some expression of Christianity as a part of his endeavor to be elected. Like it's almost like all through American history, a politician had to be able to identify their ties to Christianity. And we go back to positive world, neutral world, negative world. In positive world, for so long in our nation's history, like being identified with Christianity was a cultural positive and it gained benefits for you. And then it was neutral world and it wasn't frowned upon. But like, hey, if you want to collect a certain amount of votes, you need to like, say, hey, I'm Christian. But now we're in negative world. I predict that as we move forward, there will be presidential candidates that very intentionally do not identify any affiliation with Christianity because in their camp it is viewed so negatively. And just transparently, that's probably going to come from the left because I think it would be really hard for somebody on the right to completely denounce, reject Christianity. I mean, I think of Vivek Ramaswamy, a brilliant dude. I mean, I love hearing him talk, but he's Hindu, and during his campaign, like he had to work really hard to try to tie Hinduism to Christianity, because I think he knew I'll never win as a Hindu, right? And so, all that said, like slapping Christianity on something, and then we still see that I mean, the political left and the political right, hey, here's our agenda, and then they'll find somebody to say, and here it is in the Bible.
Right.
Well,
and I feel like there are people out there like, oh, that's not a real thing. I mean, it's been even made fun of in movies. I literally came across a clip the other day of some movie. I don't think I've seen it. Will Ferrell, Zach Galifianakis, where they're running for some office. And one of them is said to be a Christian. The other one then takes that to try to boost his numbers. So in their debate, they're like, well, if you're a Christian, why don't you say the Lord's Prayer? And he doesn't know it. And he just makes something up. And the sad part was everybody starts cheering at the end. So I think it's a warning. Here's a warning.
Yeah.
You need to know the word and know what it actually says.
And just because somebody says Christian, I'm a Christian, like it doesn't mean that they are.
Right.
Anyway.
So then there's one it's been historically called political theology, but it's kind of been rephrased of a Christian philosophy of government. So it's applying biblical ethics to public life.
Yeah.
So that would be the other one.
Okay.
But I would define Christian nationalism as this. This would be like my one sentence definition, is when Christians treat national identity as equal to or above kingdom identity and use political power to enforce it.
Yeah, I think that's a good, because, and again, people hear that phrase and some people see it as a major negative. Other people see it as a major positive, which once again creates complexity because it's not like universally a good or universally a bad as far as how it's perceived. But I would say that's a good definition, maybe an addition to that is some would say Christian nationalism is the use of politics or government to coerce people into Christianity or to validate manifest destiny that a nation has a mandate from God to colonize the world. And we've seen that in different times in human history. And if you were to say, yeah, I hear that, that's bad. Like, even that's complicated because we have a Great Commission. And so I think it's really important to understand the role of a nation, the role of a church within a nation, and the role of a nation globally, and the role of the church globally. And sometimes those two things go hand in hand, but a lot of times they don't. And the nation has a different role than the church. And so, anyway, and then there's people that are like, well, I'm a Christian and I'm a nationalist, and so a nationalist is somebody that holds their nation in the highest regard and wants good outcomes for their nation, regardless of what outcomes there are for other nations. Patriotism is a deep affection and affinity and value for your nation. So people would be like, well, I'm a Christian, and yeah, I want what's good for my nation, regardless of the expense of other nations. Like the phrase "Make America First" is a nationalist oriented statement, but I think you can make America first without disregarding other nations, because a lot of times what's good for other nations is good for America. It's just making sure. I would see the phrase as a healthy version of that is, we want America to flourish, and all the decisions we're going to make are going to be about America flourishing. And that's kind of what we filter everything through.
Yeah.
And so people be like, well, I'm a Christian, I'm a nationalist, so I'm a Christian nationalist. Then it becomes problematic because that phrase kind of means something different.
Right. And I think, I think a lot of, in the negative sense of it, I think a lot of that pushback's starting to come in with, there's almost this divide of, should we be a Christian, quote unquote, Christian nation?
Yeah.
So I pulled a couple statistics.
Okay.
So according to Pew Research Center, 45% of Americans say that the U.S. should be a, quote, Christian nation.
Yeah.
In the same report, 27% of U.S. adults say that the Bible should take precedence over the will of the people when they conflict in shaping laws.
Yeah.
So it's really it's kind of a low, to me, that I feel like that's a low number.
Yeah.
Like when you're looking at the whole of everybody,
yeah,
we're saying that less than half think that we should be a Christian nation.
Yeah.
So I think what we're seeing, the tension, I think, comes in when you have people saying we should be a Christian nation, and then you have some that are saying we're not.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, you're being a Christian nationalist because you think the nation should be Christian.
Yeah. So me and you were talking before, and again, all of this is complicated, and it's rife with emotion. I don't know that a nation as an entity, an organization, an institution can be Christian. But I desperately want a nation that is heavily influenced by Christianity. And America is, from the origin story of America, the founding documents, to our moral laws, which are derived from the morality of Scripture. And so a nation in and of itself is an entity. It's an organization. Yeah. It's an institution. I don't know that it can be Christian, but it should be, for the good of humanity and the good of citizens. The best version of a nation is a nation that is profoundly influenced by biblical value, biblical virtue, Christian ethic, the kingdom of God. Yeah. And so when you're using it, it may be just a semantics thing of like, we're a Christian nation. Well, we're a nation among many nations. Nations will rise and fall. If the world goes on another 1,000 years, there's no guarantee America will still be a thing, right? But like, while this nation is alive and Jesus hasn't returned, it should be the deep desire of every believer that this nation be heavily influenced by Christianity. That happens by people that are of faithful Christianity being in places of influence. It happens by Christians being involved civically and and socially to affect change, to care for humanity. It happens politically by Christians saying, hey, this is a matter of morality. This is a matter of virtue. This is a matter of human integrity and dignity. This is a matter of biblical principle. We're going to vote here. We're going to stand here. And so, yeah, that's my thought. But I do believe, without a doubt, America was founded. The initial intent was a nation that is shaped biblically and is shaped by Christianity.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest issue comes in when we start putting party politics over biblical standards.
Yes.
And God's divine design.
Yeah.
I think that's where all right, now we're slipping too far into the slope.
So it's the thing of like, I touched on this a few weeks back when I was talking about boldness. One of our First Amendment rights is freedom of speech. And man, as a nationalist, as American, whatever, as a patriot, like, man, I love freedom of speech. I think that is the best thing for a society to thrive, not speech that is suppressed by government. But as a Christian, the Bible calls me to control my tongue. The Bible holds me to account and responsibility for what I say. The power of life and death is in the tongue. So a Christian that values their freedom of speech over the virtue of a controlled tongue is a compromised Christian, right? That would be nationalism in a way that is like compromising your Christianity. So,
well, let's kind of dive into what our role should be.
Yeah.
Because I think you see kind of the polarizing of, I mean, I know back during election season, I was seeing people saying, well, I'm not going to vote because basically both candidates are horrible.
Yeah.
Or neither one of them are quote, godly, so I'm not voting. Now, we live in an area that is largely conservative.
Yeah.
Very, very much voted conservative.
Even though the city is more left-leaning.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what should our role be as a Christian in an American society?
Yeah.
What should my role be?
I would be I'm not a big fan of if you're a Christian and you don't vote on some level, that's sin, or like we're going to chastise you. Like you're going to get in heaven. And while how we vote, I think, because all of our actions are weighed, and judged. And so I guess by proxy, not voting or voting, it gets judged. I'm way more interested in, I think a believer that wants to impact society should be engaged in the political process, but I'm not going to chastise the person that's like, I don't vote. I haven't voted. I will say, like, you got to understand that the political process creates laws. Those laws shape the trajectory of a nation. They give permissions. They create inhibitions, barriers, borders. And so you want the laws of your nation to create the most conducive atmosphere for evangelism and human thriving.
Yeah.
And as a Christian, there has to be an embracing of this idea. God's way is better. It is the superior way for human thriving and the well-being of humanity. And even for a person that's not a Christian, God's way is still better and superior. So the political process, the civic process, is one means by which I can participate in shaping a nation that is more ripe evangelically or evangelistically and is better for human living, human thriving. So, the phrase, like, you can't legislate morality, that whole adage, you can't legislate morality. So why are you trying to, legislate morality with abortion? It's not about the thought of, well, if we pass this law, people will get saved, or they'll suddenly be moral. It is about knowing what is right and wrong and having laws that support what is right and condemn or bring justice to what is wrong. Because a society that does not hold into account what is wrong, what is evil, what is dangerous, what is harmful, is a society that is going to eventually run itself off a cliff. And then everybody that lives in that society is going to suffer for it. And we look at other nations and we see it. But then in America, as Christians, I don't know that we believe it a lot of times. We're just kind of ambivalent. We're indifferent. But if there are laws that are connected to morality, it at the least creates a mechanism by which the government can hold to account things that are dark. And so somebody says, hey, you can't legislate morality. And I've shared this on a Sunday before. It's amazing how they'll use that phrase on abortion. They'll use that phrase when it comes to like gay marriage. But they won't use legislate morality when it comes to murder. Like there is laws against murder because we know murder is immoral. We don't have those laws because we think those laws will make people be saved or more moral. We have those laws so that the government has the ability to be punitive toward anybody who murders. Because for a society to not have laws about the morality of murder is a society that will go off the rails. And so it's, again, when it comes to being a Christian involved in the civic, political, societal fray, it is not that I'm involved because I think that we are going to be able to codify laws that make people saved. It is God's ways are best, period. And we want what's best for humans, with data now showing that laws and governance and regions of our nation that are more in alignment with biblical principles, those areas are more ripe for evangelism than other areas where laws are, quote, less moral. And so the byproduct of civic engagement is the hope that you are, Paul talks to the Romans and is basically like God left them to themselves. Like just do what you're going to do. You know, he talked about the Gentiles in Romans 1, like God abandoned them to themselves. And the result of people being left to themselves with no restriction was some of the most debased, animalistic, vile expressions of humanity. So laws, the role of the nation, the role of a government is a variant of restraints. It's an institution thought up by and given by God to a fallen world, because we're in a fallen world. The ultimate end game is new heaven, new earth. It's not governments and nations. The ultimate end game is God ruling and reigning over all. But until we get there, governments are an institution by God for restraint. What's really dangerous to the world is when a government does not operate with right morality, or you have a government that is heavily infused by false religion like Islam, you know, and then you see women's rights, women get suppressed. You see violence and volatility. You see groups that are, you know, put under genocide, acts of genocide. And so, which takes me all the way back to, like, for everybody crying about America, like, I'm sure there's a lot to complain about. But there's so much to be grateful for too. So I, as a believer, I involve politically, and I care about it because I care about my neighbor, and they may not know Jesus yet, but I want them to be protected. And I like the abortion matter. You know, if the abortion goes to the states, and, you know, every state ended abortion, that's not going to mean people are saved. That's not going to like fix everything in the heart of a person. It's not going to make a person moral. But what it will do is remove a get out of jail free for irresponsibility. Like, it will make people have to contemplate their decisions more. It will prevent many people, men and women, from making decisions about aborting, murdering a human. Like, it will create a restraint that I believe is good for society, you know? And and then I just think macro, a nation that is continuing in its trajectory of codifying laws and moving farther and farther away from biblical principle is a nation that is in danger. Like, it's a nation that is in danger of being left to itself, being abandoned.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about that tonight. I'm preaching on Sodom and Gomorrah. One of the coolest parts, I'll say it now because I will have preached it, is that Sodom and Gomorrah, like, there was an outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah that were like, that outcry was like, man, it is so awful. It is so wretched. It had reached the throne of God. And God starts having this conversation with Abraham, and they whittle it all the way down to 10 people. And God's like, yeah, if there are 10 people, I will spare that whole city. Like, the power of the believer in a society is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, that God would say, I'll be merciful to the wicked because there are faithful therein.
Yeah.
Bro. So that just gives me chills thinking about it. And so, I'm going to be engaged in the process because even that, my faithfulness
so good,
creates mercy for the wicked.
Yeah.
Like, it creates the opportunity of being saved because of my faithfulness, even in a land that is lost.
Yeah. And I think that people push back on, well, America's not in the Bible. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But this is the land I've been assigned. This is where I was born. This is the time I was born in. This time we were all. Why would I not try to make this the best place possible?
Yes.
So I think that it is. I think it's good. I think it's healthy. And I think it's biblical for us to love our nation.
Yes.
I've been assigned this area. So why would I not do whatever I can, get involved in as much as I can to make sure that this is the best place for people to live?
Yeah.
And I do think America is the greatest country on earth. I think it's the greatest place to live.
Yeah.
I think it's, what you're saying, when you compare it to all the other things going on, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, and so if this is the area I'm assigned, this is the time that I'm born into, then I should do whatever I can as a Christian living here to make it the best thing, to improve the quality of it. And so what I believe is being Christian, having Christian morals improves the quality of what we're doing.
100%.
And so that kind of gets us into, do you believe that some cultures are superior to other cultures?
Okay, so yes, I'll say that so that the blanket, like, blunt statement is out there. Yes, some cultures are superior to others. And we ask that almost in the context of nationalism, you know, because that is kind of a premise of nationalism. All I care about is my nation. I don't care about all the others, right? I want what's best for my nation, even if it's at the detriment of other nations. And there's a big, longer conversation on all that. Matt Walsh has said some stuff recently that I don't really agree with, you know, and he professes to be a believer. So I have a hard time with the believer saying things like, I don't give a rip about other nations. All I care about is America. It's a complete conflict with going to all the world, preach good news, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth. Like, I have to care about the nations as a believer, but I understand what he's saying politically. And I don't know if Matt Walsh is a believer or not. Once again, you go back to, can't just go by what people claim. Fruit matters. But yes, I believe that some cultures are superior. For instance, like, just on the simplest level, a Christian-oriented culture is superior to a Muslim-oriented culture. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, I'm not saying an American white dude's culture is superior to an Arabic Middle Eastern person's culture. I'm not saying that. But I'm talking about the tenets of Christianity as a society is superior to the tenets of Islam as a society. I think everybody deep down really does believe some cultures are superior to the others. The problem is when you say that, it's met with accusations of racism, nationalism, prejudice, but that's not what's intended. So I'll give a couple examples. I don't even know if these are good examples. Let's say someone is an immigrant to America from Japan, right? That person is American citizen. They're involved in the nation. They're making the nation better, but they've got markers in their home and around their life connected to their homeland because they have a deep affection for where they're from. Like, I think that's beautiful. There's some that would say, no, you got to cut all ties with your previous culture. I think that's beautiful. Like, what I care about is when you come to America, are you going to coalesce toward the ideals that America is working toward, which now is really hard because there's almost two different versions of America. I'm mindful of when I lived in Texas. I lived in Texas for 6 years, but I was still a Tennessean. I kept my TriStar. I kept my Vols gear, but I love Texas. I was contributing to Texas. I was paying taxes in Texas. I cared about Texas, but I still had an affinity for Tennessee. So I think we have to be careful. There's people on the far right, and I'm just putting it out there. I think one of the reasons we're in the mess we're in as a nation is people on the left did not call out the extremists on the left, and then the extremists on the left hijacked the left. So, hey, I want to look. There are people on the far right that are trending toward racism, that are trending toward a version of nationalism that's kind of like, we don't want anything from any other part of the world. I think that's not healthy. What I think is great about America is that people have an affinity for where they're from. They love where they're from, but they come to America and say, we are going to collaborate on this set of ideals that we've all agreed upon and are working toward. We've got an international dinner coming up in December. It's one of my favorite things about our church is that we have multiple nations represented. When they come, they'll make food from their nation. They'll wear clothes from their nation. We'll have flags from other nations. I think it's so beautiful. But at the same time, at Cornerstone, we all come together and we have affection for where we're from, but we're about the unity centered on Jesus. And so when I say, yes, some cultures are superior, what I'm not saying is that, just generally speaking, Americanism is superior to whatever, culture. What I am saying, though, is there are some cultures that produce opportunity, that produce possibilities, that create paths for wealth, that are more protection, more safety, where other cultures are more broken, tend to be trending toward less opportunity, less paths for advancement, less. And so I think we have to be honest about that and say, like, okay, what are the markers? It's less about where you're from. It's more about what are the markers in a culture that either suppress people and break people or present opportunity for people.
Yeah.
And so when I say, there's some that are superior, like you go to some parts of the world and it's like, this governmental system, this way is inferior as it pertains to not like me and this person and what we love and none of that, but just what opportunities it provides, how the people are affected.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's why people have come to America. So many people, because like, hey, the culture, the world that I'm in is like making it really difficult for me as a human being.
Yeah. Let
Let me find a place that will present a better path for me.
Yeah.
And so I think in that you have to acknowledge. And so I come back to like, I'm very patriotic. And part of the reason I'm patriotic is because America has been a place that the whole world has come to find possibility. And it just makes you proud. Like, we have an idealism. We have a philosophical approach as a nation to human existence. It was called like the democratic experiment, by people through the ages that creates possibility. And man, I'm proud of that. And so at the same time, I want to preserve that. And I want to preserve the safety, and I want to preserve the morality, and I want to preserve the possibility of progress that our nation has. So I'm involved as a Christian. And as a Christian, I care about all of that. Like, I care about people being saved. but I also care about people being able to walk down the street and feel safe. I care about people having less access to life-destroying drugs and less access. I care about laws that not penalizes sexual promiscuity, but doesn't incentivize it. I care about that a lot because I think it's really bad for humans to be sexually promiscuous. I think it's horrible for the human soul. I don't care what anybody thinks. It's terrible for the human soul. So I don't want laws that facilitate that because I think it destroys people. It turns them to their base animalistic self. So anyway, that's a long, winding road there. You might add to that. And if I wasn't clear and if I said anything that felt off, some of this is just because, again, I'm trying to wrap my mind around it.
Yeah.
Like, I love different cultures. But when I say some cultures are superior to others, I'm talking about, like, what does that culture do to people? Like, what is the common denominator that seems to happen with great repetition? Yeah. Well, I want to find the culture that the repetition is possibilities.
Yeah. Well, I know we're kind of getting close on time, so I kind of want to end on this question. We didn't go over this one, but
okay.
What advice would you give someone that's wanting to get more involved? When I say get more involved, like they don't want to just continue to bury their head in the sand.
Yeah.
But they want to have a solid biblical framework for approaching stuff like this. Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give that person?
The first thing I'd say is for all of us, the expression like touch some grass, as in like go to the grocery store, smile at people, like walk through the mall, see the humans around you, and just like remind yourself that the world that's on this phone is not necessarily the greatest picture of reality.
Yeah, it's good.
Because if you're not careful, the desire to engage politically can become all-consuming, and the binary of our national political spectrum is one of villainization. Like, it's all about making villains out of people.
Yeah.
And so, like, listen, let me just live in life and remind myself of that. But I think, you vote. I think you become well-informed. I think you lead your family and you teach your kids. And I think you support people who are godly that aspire to be in the public arena. It's like, one of my biggest challenges in the political world is, like, we don't know their lives. All we see is their public. We don't really know what kind of stuff's going on in the unseen places of their life. So, man, when you find somebody that's godly, especially locally, when you find somebody that's godly locally, support them, encourage them, come alongside them, pray. I don't know. Maybe that wasn't the best answer. So you might have some thoughts on that.
I think it's good. I think you have to, and we've talked about this even on this podcast, like, you have to know what you believe.
Yes.
You can't have any kind of framework if you're not solidified, and this is what I believe.
Yes.
And so I think that's where you start. So, like, figure out what all the hot button we're addressing them.
Yeah.
So take some of the topics we're addressing and write down what do I believe on this?
Yeah.
And then you need to make, like, what you believe should be in line with the Bible.
Yes.
And what the Bible's framework is for it. And so if it's not, you need to start revisiting some of that and, like, really diving into, because I think that's where I think sometimes the line can be really hazy on, like, well, this is what I believe, and it doesn't really matter what anything else says, or this is how I feel.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Well, this is how this makes me feel. Well,
how you feel.
The Bible don't really care about my feelings on this.
No, your feelings will deceive you very much so. Yeah, keep going.
No, so I think that's the number one. I like what you said. We have more influence locally than we do nationally. And so, getting involved locally, figuring out, in an election season, who's running, looking up their stuff, reading what they're putting out. And then when you do find a candidate, we have one here at our church who is a member of our church. He is in leadership in Sumner County. 100% backing him. Like,
yes.
I know him. I've been on a mission trip with him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting lunch with him next week. So, like, 100%, I stand behind
100%.
him and support him. Now, someone else that I know of. I kind of know them, know their name, but I'm not going to throw all my support at them until I know the kind of person that they are.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to do your research. Like, don't just, oh, well, there's an R next to their name or there's a D next to their name, I'm going to vote that direction.
And I think for the believer, what I'm about to say, like, you need to have heard from the Lord on this, but I think more believers should be open to the possibility that God wants them to put their hat in the ring, so to speak, for city council, for board of education, those types of things. I think believers, faithful believers in those spots is really good for a community.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'd mention is, I do believe that a lot of politics is deeply tied to morality. A lot of what happens is like, man, it's either good or evil. Like, it's either right or wrong. But then there are a lot of political matters that are more so different thoughts on the best path to the same outcome. And truthfully, and we've said this on the pod, I think one of the reasons we're in a complicated spot as a nation is it does not feel like the outcomes are shared. Like, we're not, as in, like, the desired outcomes in our political binary are different. And so used to it was, hey, we're all trying to get to the same thing, prosperity, but like, we have different ideas of how to get there. And there are still political matters that are literally just like, it's just which path do you think logically, philosophically is better to get there? But at the same time now, because politically things like abortion, just matters of like clear biblical morality matters, like it's hard to detach that, from a party platform. So anyway, there's some stuff that it's like you have your preferred political party and the other party says, well, we think we should do this. And your default is they're wrong. That's evil. But it's like, maybe this is just one of those things of like, that's just a different way of seeing it, a different path to get there.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm saying is like get worked up about the right things. Right. You don't have it in you. You don't have the bandwidth to get worked up about everything. So that's kind of, as a pastor, that's kind of where I am. It's like, there's some things that I have to get worked up about. Like there's just no choice. But there's a lot of stuff that I don't have to get worked up about. Let me not get worked up about all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me use my fuel in the right spot.
Right.
So
I think that's good. Well, that's all I've got. Do you have any final?
No. I feel like I've rambled a lot, and I hope I didn't confuse everybody more. That's my hope.
No, I think it's good. So go ahead, like, subscribe. You can comment. Let us know if you're enjoying this. We've been getting feedback. I don't know if you have. I've had people pass me at the church and tell me, man, I love that y'all are talking about that.
Good.
So let us know, and we will see you next time.
Hey, yeah, let us, before you cut out, did you end it? Like, comment stuff you'd like us to talk about.
Yeah.
I think it helps us. We think we're talking about stuff that you're interested in, but I know when we talked about the Nephilim, that was probably the one people were most fired up about. So anyway, so let us know.
All right, yeah.